We're live, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back once again. It is your favorite time of the week, Thursday evening. It's actually Sunday morning right now for us, but Thursday evening when you guys are watching this. And today's episode is going to be awesome because this is going to be one of my favorite types of topics, which is a return appearee. I don't know if appearee is a word, but I just made that up. I've got a return appearance here, and my guest was on the show about 1 year ago, almost to the day.
Wow.
And when we talked last, this was a brand new concept that had just kind of gotten kicked off. We talked a lot about the initial stages of growth and all the development that came into the systems. But now, ladies and gentlemen, we're doing a follow-up a year later. And I think that the results that we're going to find in this last 365 days are going to shock you. And I couldn't be more happy to welcome my guest to the show, Mr. Dean Talley, the CEO of Smart Tarp. Dean, welcome back to Keepin It Rio, my friend. How you doing?
Brother, I am fantastic. Thank you so much for coming back on. And this is great. Our schedule's got a little screwy, so we're doing it on Sunday morning with the grace of God, of course. And it will. I'm glad to be here.
Yep, Sunday morning podcasts are some of my favorite ones. Saturday evening and Sunday morning those are my most creative times because I'm not thinking about anything else. So we are very excited for this because, like I said, this is a company, Smart Tarp, that has taken the world by storm. And in the last 365 days, or maybe 363, whatever it's been since we last spoke, a lot of things have happened on your end. So let's just kick off the program by talking a little bit about that. Tell me about the last year of your life as the CEO of Smart Tarp and how things have gone for your business.
We've been incredibly blessed. 2023, being our first year of, where we actually were made available. We were glad and got great response back. But what we didn't expect in 2024 was for the company to grow 460% in a year. Nobody's prepared for that. But it's been amazing. We've got customers that are now almost like family that, we get to hear from multiple times a year to order additional tarps, and the amount of content that we get and good feelings that we get to wrap ourselves with the responses. So we've expanded. We expanded to where we're now shipping into Canada. We'll see how that goes with everything going on. But we expanded into Canada in 2024. We are now, I don't know, we've shipped Smart Tarps to 1,000 plus roofers in the last 18 months. We thought just being able to maintain what we did in 2024 would have been an exciting achievement for 2025. But in January, we doubled what we did last January. In February, we doubled what we did last February. And it doesn't seem to be stopping. So we're really excited about it. We've continued to create better graphics, continue to get better and better at what we do and how we do it. And that's something we're going to continue to strive for, as well as start to provide some really valuable other services to our customers from an agency side. Because we know that, some of our clients, they get Smart Tarps and they start getting those leads in, and not everybody's got a great CRM for tracking. Not everybody's got a great system for nurturing. And so we're gonna start making those things available so that, when you get your Smart Tarps, you never lose a lead. And for us, that it's going to become more and more important. The business changes every year that we've been in it. And it typically doesn't get easier. It typically, provides you with some new challenges and some new opportunities to get better at what you do. Because if you don't get better, you typically get left behind. And if you're not growing, you're shrinking. But yeah, it's been a great year, and we're really, really, really looking forward to continuing it and continuing to bring value to the industry from our perspective.
I love it, Dean. And I'll tell you what, a year ago, I think I was one of the first podcasts that you appeared on. You were just hitting the scene, the very first, ladies and gentlemen. and you were just hitting the scene, starting to, get a little bit of momentum going. Still very small operation. You were doing most of the work yourself.
For sure.
Now, 460% growth later, there's got to be some pretty substantial changes to the organization in order to maintain that growth. Tell me a little bit about some of the additions you've had to take on in the last year to facilitate this amazing exponential growth that you've experienced.
It's a great question. A big part of it, and I've talked about this before, the Smart Tarp company is, just the last, of many startups that my wife and I have done together over the last 38 years. And, when you get to be my age at, 58, and you've been a serial entrepreneur, you like to think that you've learned things as you've gone.
You like to think. Unfortunately, for a good part of it, I didn't learn a damn thing. So I would continue to repeat a lot of the same mistakes. And so when the Smart Tarp company started to grow, one of the key things that I wanted to kind of challenge myself with was to get out of the way of my ego and having to believe that, I had all the answers. And so one of the key components that we did was bring on multiple people into our advisory board, which has been just a huge benefit to me. One of those people, Tony, who's we've been one of our best friends for 18 years, owns a media company and agency that takes care of, multi-billion-dollar clients like Newegg and stuff like that. And he's always been there as an asset when it comes to expanding and learning more about digital marketing. But I never really took advantage of him being available to me. And that's one of the things that we did in bringing him on in 2024. And he continues to help us expand and do all that. Same thing from a graphics perspective. For the lion's share of our growth, my wife and one other person have done in creative most of the graphics. We now just can't do it. It's because we try to make sure once somebody places an order that once you upload your graphics and stuff to us, we try to make a point to get and have all those mock-ups and artistic ideas to you back within 48 to 72 hours. Well, when you're taking in 10, 20 orders a day, that starts to become a little more difficult. So we've been able to partner with some great graphics folks that we've brought on to our team that have been instrumental. We expanded to a second distribution center, which makes it to where we can now continue to be in that 10 to 12 day delivery time frame when we really start to get popping here after daylight savings time. Because for us, that's kind of the turning point. At least it was last year, even though we really never slowed down. But I think it's the 7th, 8th, 9th that we moved the clocks this month. And, as we know in our industry, that's kind of that's a game changer, when there's that extra sunlight to get out and do more inspections, to do more, knock more doors, when consumers can actually see the damage a little later in the evening when they get home from work. That's when there's that true opportunity. So yeah, we brought on more graphics folks that give us more creative and better turnaround times. We expanded our distribution and shipping and bringing on somebody that can help us, get better at reaching out and staying continuously in touch with industry partners. And then again, we ended up partnering with folks like Limitless and with Van Boxel and Roofers Helper. And, we did some great things with Roofing Insights. So, folks have been incredibly gracious with us and have been instrumental in getting us here. If there's one of the main things you learn through it all is that, you typically can't get to where you want to get to if you're the only one on the road. You really need, at least I know I need a lot of help. And I used to be very, very much ego driven to where I can't ask for help, can't expose the fact that I don't know something. But once you understand that you don't know what you don't know, and the answer is always no until you ask, you can get yourself out of the way. It's amazing what you can do, and we're proof of that. Yeah, no doubt, my friend. And it's so exciting to see because it, like you said, it's something that you started off as just thinking, hey, if I sell a few of these, it's a great opportunity. We'll have some fun with it.
Yeah.
Didn't really know what to expect. Now, the roofing industry is one where once, they always say bad news travels fast, but I think good news travels fast in this industry as well. And when you put a product out that's absolutely beneficial to your clients, that helps them in many different ways, we start talking amongst ourselves. We start telling each other, hey, man, you should try this out. Next thing you know, you're quadruplifying yourself and you're on the road to being a mega superstar in this industry. So let's talk a little bit about that. As you started getting underway with the company, you start getting some feedback from some of your people.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about those initial clients that have kind of helped you by spreading the word and saying, hey, you know what? Smart Tarp came through for us. Everything they said they were going to be, they were, and then some. It's been an amazing product for us. We continue to buy more of them. How has the contractor side of things helped you with that growth?
Well, I mean, here's kind of the thing, there's hype and things like that can get you in the room, but they don't keep you there, right? Without substance, you don't get selected, right? And so obviously, and I try to give Garen Armstrong his flowers anytime that I can, because Garen Armstrong and Shamrock Roofing here in Kansas City was really kind of like one of our first guys that was like, we're in, we'll take 100. And we're like, holy shit, and that's when we were putting them together in our garage. Okay. So that's a lot. Right. But Garen and continues to be, and then to turn right back around and Heather, his fiance, then we turn around and are taking care of her, her business down in your market with Royal, and then Southern Premier and, Holloway Roofing. And Holloway is a prime example. You talk about feedback, right? So James Holloway, in 2023, we had a booth at RoofCon. And on the last day, James Holloway was there with his whole team and his kids. And he comes over and he placed an order for 18 Smart Tarps. And so that's October of 2023. And if you look at all of our content, you'll see Holloway Roofing's, because they sent us tons and tons of pictures. So you'll see their content all over the place. And so we knew that they liked them, and that they're using them, obviously. But in October of 2024, we just had too many things going on and we weren't able to participate at RoofCon. But I get a phone call almost the same week, right? A year later, and it's not from James, but it's from one of his project coordinators, Michael. And he says, yeah, I get a message. Hey, we bought some tarps from you at RoofCon last year. We need to place another order. Now I'm like, man, that's great. So I reached back out to him. And so we were putting together his order. And I said, I'm glad that you got, a full season, out of them. And, that's fantastic. That's a great return on investment. And he says, well, we're not done. I says, what do you mean? He says, no, we're still using the same 18 tarps that we've been using for the last year every single week. We're just adding 3 more teams. So we need tarps for those 3 teams. So now a company like Holloway has been using the same Smart Tarps 4, 5, 6 times a week for more than a year. And and then invests more, not because they're worn out, but because they're expanding. So things like that. Underdog Roofing out of Nashville. Oh my God! Again, another fantastic customer. And there's just too many to name of companies that just continue to reorder and tote our flag per se, or tote our tarp. And that's so. Yeah, those guys have been instrumental. And also incredibly educational. One of the things that we learned as we grew was that one size doesn't always fit all. And so now, when somebody orders tarps, we it was a learning experience for us. We, now we do multiple layouts. So we do, if somebody buys whatever package they buy, some of those tarps are printed so that they're perfect for vertical, placements, and some of them are printed for horizontal placements. So, your crews are never not prepared, right, to display, smart tarps and protect customer property, no matter what scenario that they're in, whether it's a single story soffit, a 2-story, 3-story, 1.5, 2.5. And that was something that we learned from our customers, so for us, that's always a great thing.
Yeah, no doubt. Nothing better than feedback. And I always like to ask this when I talk to people on a follow-up visit. The positive feedback obviously is overwhelming to the point where you've multiplied your business time and time and time again. What about negative feedback? Did you have anything that you needed to work on that's from the initial prototypes when you first hit the market and you're selling these, tarps to your buddy? And as you continue to evolve, have you gotten anything that's been, hey, you know what, Dean, this is awesome, but it would be even better if you did this, or maybe if you added a little something extra? What kind of additions have you made to the product over the last year that have made it even better than what it was when we last talked?
One of the key things that we've done is we've gotten better and better at applying our graphics, right? So, the key thing is we've expanded is, especially in markets like Arizona and New Mexico, fading on graphics. If you look at, the outdoor graphics in Arizona, I mean, they get burnt up really, really, really fast. And so we continue to get better and better to where now when we print below the first layer of the vinyl substrate. So inevitably, number one, we print with UV ink. So it never fades at this point. And and because now we're printing below the first layer, you can't scrape the graphics off. And so now, because of the way that we manufacture them, you literally can take a 200 PSI power washer, no more than that. There are some limitations of a vinyl substrate, but you can take a 200 PSI power washer now and spray them, and they look brand new. So again, it's a learning process to become better and better at what you do. And we also recognize that, look, roofing is a brutal industry, and nobody expects, no matter what you're using as far as a tarp, quote unquote, to last forever. But we didn't have carrying bags, right, until mid 2024. And that was something that, we were like, if crews can't put them away and protect them, right, after they're taken down, or in the off season, if they're just, strung out in some warehouse, we're not giving our customers, what they should. So especially when we want the tarps to have some longevity, right? When you spend good money on marketing, you want to get your dollars out of it. And so the carrying bags and then improving our print quality was a response to, right, getting feedback of, man, the graphics, didn't stay on as well as I thought they were going to. And we were like, okay, let's look at that, right? And you only have to hear something once before from us to fix it, and we've been really, really fortunate. We try to, whatever it takes, we'll make our customers happy. So there's a reason why we have nothing but 5-star reviews. And it's because, for us, we're going to give you 5-star service.
Yeah. And I mean, that's the way you do it. That's common sense. Just do the right thing and make a great product, and everybody will be happy. You're living that, and you're proof that does work. Let me ask you this. Okay. I've got some smart tarps that are scheduled to be delivered this week, which will be a couple weeks from now when we play this episode. Yeah. But coming up this week, and I'm going to put them on a job site right out of the gate. I've got one that we're going to do the day after they're scheduled to arrive. I've told my crew all about this. It's going to have my face on it. I'm all excited about it. My crew thinks I'm stupid, but whatever. This is going to be awesome in my book. But the number one question I'm getting from my crew guys is, okay, how easy are these things to work with in the field for the people that actually have to, practically apply them out there? How easy are they to set up? what do we do when we throw all of our stuff onto the Smart Tarp? Is it going to weigh 6,000 pounds and be tough to get into the can? Tell us a little bit about those specs out in the field for the installers, because those are really the people that their feedback is going to probably mean the most over the course of time.
Yeah, for sure. So for us, it's kind of two things, right? When it comes to tear off, if you ask us, my response is always going to be, there's really no reason to spend, let's say hypothetically $300 or more per tarp with Smart Tarps if you're going to use it as a damn slide and try and destroy the tarps. Because look, there's not much of anything that you can use as a slide for tear off that is not going to be destroyed, in a very short amount of time, right?
Absolutely.
So one of the things that's great about, Smart Tarps is, one, because they're manufactured out of that vinyl substrate, they're about 100 times more durable than like a blue tarp or a mesh tarp, right? But they're not indestructible, because nothing is, right? But they don't weigh what most people would expect them to weigh with the durability. Like a 16 by 20 only weighs 28 pounds. Right? A 20 by 30 only weighs like 37 pounds. So this isn't, I've literally watched one guy put up Smart Tarps on a job site, right? Which, try to do that with virtually anything else, right? It just doesn't happen. So one of the things that you'll hear us tell customers, and the feedback that we got from customers is, look, if you ask the 1,000+ roofers that we have shipped Smart Tarps to, how they installed them and how they use them, you probably get 1,000 different answers, right? And how they install them, how they use them. But ideally, if you want to get the most out of them and the longest return on investment, you'll hang them, vertically, whether that's, if you're, clipping into a gutter, if that's going over the gutter and underneath that first shingle, and then tacking in, or if that's, putting some hooks in a 2x4 and using that on the tack, it's, again, tarp installation is not rocket science, but, it obviously, your crews have been doing this. This isn't new, right? From that perspective. But in doing that, obviously, now just use an example. If you take a 16 by 20 foot tarp, and let's say we're going to use, in this example, we're going to use that tarp in a horizontal scenario. So we're going to make it 20 across and 16 deep. And we're going to use that one primarily for single story soffit, let's say ranch houses, right? So when we manufacture that tarp, it's going to be, let's say 16, the graphics might be 16 feet across. So we'll have, 2-3 feet on either side. But the graphics, as far as how deep they go, is only going to be about 10 feet. So that means we're going to have about 6 feet, or so on the bottom. So why do we do that? Well, if you think about a single story soffit, it's going to be somewhere between 10 and 12 feet, right? On a single story ranch. If you've got a tarp that's 20 feet across and the graphics are 10 feet down, you've got a perfect tarp that can cover, almost the entire front of a single story ranch home. And then you've got about 6.5 feet that can be then used to protect, landscaping or collect debris on the bottom. So, and Smart Tarps are more than capable of doing that job. So in that particular case, we'll see, and again, if you, on our website, if you look, you'll see a lot of guys that will use that last 6 feet as ground protection and landscape protection. And then they might throw, a throwaway tarp over the top of that to use as a debris catch, or you'll see guys that'll use an equipter there for that debris catch. But in that particular case, the graphics are as big as possible, but they're never on the ground, right? And so that's the biggest thing. So they can catch all the debris with the bottom half. You can use a throwaway chute, to really catch all that debris and carry it to a dumpster or any of that kind of stuff. But however you want to use them, whether it's clipping in, whether it's going up a shingle, however you want to do it, it's more than capable of doing it. So from, I don't know if I sometimes I just get rambling on, so I don't know if I think I answered the question. Did I?
You answered the question 100%, my friend. My guys are going to be ecstatic with it, and that was their biggest concern. Is I think when you said you've seen one person install the Smart Tarp, that kind of puts everybody's mind at ease, because there are some other products in the industry. There are other safety products, other things that can protect that, it seems like it would take forever to put these things up, and it's kind of cumbersome and putting up and taking down and all that. And I think the ease of use is one of the most important selling points to any product is, hey guys, you know, it's not going to take you half a day to get this up. You're going to be able to get to work pretty quickly, and we're going to look cool in the process. And the thing that I really like about it is as we're doing the job, people are going to be driving by all day, you know, looking and saying, oh, look at that. That's pretty cool. Rio Blanco Roofing. I've never heard of them. That guy's pretty handsome on the tarp there. I think I need to reach out and see what they've got. And I know that you guys install a QR code, and you've got a phone number and a website and all that stuff on there. So let me ask you this. As far as feedback for the product, it's been, 5 stars across the board. Everybody loves what you're doing. Anything that they've needed improvements on, you've immediately put into play and you've implemented them. What about results as far as the marketing is concerned? I know you're one of the guys that really likes to track these things and kind of understand, how much each one is getting for each client and so on and so forth. Tell me a little bit about some of the feedback you've gotten on that, because to me, this is way better than a yard sign. It's better than a wrapped truck, I believe, because social proof is awesome, but there's no better social proof than, hey, we're actually working on your neighbor's roof right now. And here's our billboard hanging off at the side of their house. So what kind of feedback have you gotten from your clients, the 1,000 plus, which congratulations on that. That's amazing.
Thanks.
That you've sold the Smart Tarps to. What kind of feedback do you get back as far as, the lead generation that it has provided for them to this point?
And again, Chuck, great question. I mean, one of the things that, being in the B2B media space, which I've been for 35 years, is, everybody wants, as a business owner, when you're spending marketing dollars, you want dollars in and dollars returned on that investment. And, sometimes that can be a difficult thing, right? I mean, back in the day, before we had, all the Google Analytics and tracking and all these different things, the best way to determine your success or failure was, how big the yellow page ad you were able to afford. Right. And, and at the end of a year, you were like, okay, we spent X amount of dollars on that yellow page ad and we did X amount of revenue. So this year, do we get to use bold letters? Do we get to put a box around it? And that was, and we were winning. Right. So, for us, it's always about being able to justify the money that you invested and trusted in it with us, right? So when we produce smart tarps for customers, we have customers who say, hey, you know what? We're very, very tech savvy. We have our own QR codes and we track all that stuff. So we want to use our own. More power to you. Great. But it's just part of our process. We host your QR codes for life. We've been fortunate. We've owned a mobile development company called Vanguard Mobile since 2002. And so we've been in that space for a very, very, very long time. So we host them for life. But the best part is that we also provide you with what we call Smart Scan Analytics. So anytime you want, you can send us an email or give us a phone call and say, hey, how many unique scans did my Smart Tarps get this month? And we can go in there and tell you, well, you know what? You had 64 scans and, 35 of them were, unique. So that means your crew is over there scanning it to see what it does. Right. So we can tell you those are fine, but those didn't pan out to be leads. But we think it's a really, knowing how many unique scans you're getting and then balancing that out about, where your leads are being generated and where you're selling additional roofs is a nice, understanding of the value of what you're doing. But the other part of it is that, we know, because we get phone calls, right? And you and I were talking a little bit before we hopped on about a customer that we had brought on recently, very, very, very huge roofing company, that like $300 million a year roofing size company, that one of their salesmen called me in October of last year and said, oh my God, Smart Tarps, they're fantastic. I just started, these are his words. I just started working for this company. And as soon as I get my first commission check, I'm going to buy a set of Smart Tarps and I'm going to have the QR code call my phone when somebody scans it. And I'm going to put my phone number on it. I'm like, hey, that's great, buddy. That's great. And his name is Jeff, by the way. And so this is in October. And I just said, fine, Jeff, here, this is my personal cell phone number, give me a shout when you're ready. We're here to help. Right. Don't hear anything from Jeff until New Year's Day, 2025. And I answer, it's like 11 o'clock in the morning. And I said, well, hey, Jeff, how are you? Happy New Year. And he says, it is, Dean. It is Happy New Year. I'm ready to place my order. I just got my first commission check. I'm like, okay, buddy. So we get to working on his design and so then we get him all squared away. And I don't know. I think his was pretty quick. I think he got his tarps maybe around the 20th or so of January. And he sent me a picture of the box that he hadn't even opened yet. And I'll skip the curse word, but he just said, I'm freaking, pumped to get these things out. So I texted him back and I'm like, Jeff, I'm excited for you, buddy. I really am. And I said, make sure as soon as you put them up, take some pictures, take some snaps. And this is at the time when we were going through that deep, freeze that everybody got a little taste of in January. And he says, well, it's like 10 below where he was at on the East Coast. He says, I don't think I'm going to get them up. I was like, dude, that's no worries. Just, I'm happy you're excited. No more than 48 hours later, my phone blows up with about 27 different pictures and reels that he's literally in Carhartts and he's outside putting his tarps up on his own personal house. Okay. And doing drone shots and everything else. And he's just, all over the place. Dude, this is amazing. And he says, I'm like, dude, I'm so excited for you. I'm glad. And he says, well, and then he says, I've got my very first job. He says, I've got 4 projects to this week. The first one will be on Tuesday. So that Tuesday morning, he sends me pics, of it being set up on the first job. It looks amazing. And then I'm out picking up lunch and he calls my phone. And obviously at this point, Jeffrey and I are almost like family because I appreciate his excitement. Right. And he says, Dean, you're not going to effing believe this. I'm like, what? He says, the tarps have been up for 2 hours on my first job. And I already have an appointment from that neighborhood to go and sign up another family for a new roof in 2 hours. And I'm like, dude, fantastic. Then they're doing what they're supposed to do. Now, ultimately, this led to a more than 100 package order from the company that he worked for, and God bless. But the reality is they work. We know that, Smart Tarps have a 300% higher scan rate than a yard sign, than a banner, than a truck wrap. It's just the reality. The bigger is better in this particular case. But yeah, the feedback from our customers, especially somebody like that, it's almost like seeing somebody. It's like when my kids were younger, which they're not anymore, in their mid and late 30s. It's like Christmas morning, when folks open these things. And to me, it's just exciting as hell.
Yeah, I can't wait. Mine are coming. Today's Sunday. They're scheduled to be delivered on Tuesday. So I'm going to be excited when they get here. I told you before we hit record, I've got a school over here. Before I even take them out the next day and put them into the field, I'm going to do some drone videos with them. I'm going to stretch them out and kind of look at them. And it's almost like you say, a little kid on Christmas. And I can respect Jeff because you get that toy on Christmas Day, but it's too cold to play. But we're all grown children. And it's like, damn it, I'm going to play with the thing anyway. I'm going to put it up on my own house just so I can see how cool it is. And I respect that because there is a cool factor to it. It's not something that has been seen in our industry, for years and years. This has never been heard of. You've come in, you've taken over the market, you've got thousands of clients, and we're just excited about it because it's a whole new avenue. It's a whole new way to brand ourselves. It's unique. Most homeowners have never seen this at this point because it's still so new. So every customer that we see here in San Antonio is going to say, man, I've never seen anything like that. That's awesome. Well, there you go. We are awesome, and therefore you should get a roof done by us. And you can have this mug hanging off the side of your house for a day.
Look at the guy on that tarp. I mean, how could you say no to him?
If that doesn't sell some jobs, I don't know what will. But this is really cool. And Now I kind of think to myself, okay, Dean, you have grown this thing huge in the last year. This is far more than you ever expected to happen, I'm sure.
For sure. For
When
sure.
you first started, it was like, if we sell a few of these, will be great. If we sell a couple, will be awesome, whatever. You're selling thousands and thousands. You've got people putting hundreds of them in orders at a time. You've grown. You've added to your team. You've added to your production facilities. So let me ask you this. Now that you kind of have a rough idea with a year under your belt and you understand the growth potential, 1,000 is a lot, but there are probably, I don't know how many tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of roofing contractors in the United States. But now you got to kind of take a step back.
I think the last number I heard was like 120,000, I think, licensed.
Okay, so we've still got some room to grow here, right?
Yeah, just a little.
Yeah, we're going to try to get these in every roofing company in the country. So now you take a step back and look at this and say, okay, now I kind of understand what I've got. I kind of understand the market a little bit. Tell me a little bit about your forecast for the future. A year down the road, what are you guys looking at? You said you've already doubled your production for January.
Yeah.
Looking like you're on pace to have another record year moving forward. You're going to kill it. So what is the next year, 3 years, 5 years, so on look like for you as far as forecasting? Something that you're going to have to be prepared to continue to grow into. Yeah. What are your thoughts as far as that goes?
Well, I mean, we started off this year with a goal which sounds for some might think it sounds unrealistic, but to 4x what we did last year. And because we knew that was going to be a huge stretch, right? I mean, if the goal's too easily attained, you didn't set it high enough, right? Typically we only reach about 90% of our goals. So, if our expectation is to get to, within 3 years is to be, a service provider that's, do best our smart tarps, but then expanding what we do to help our customers, generate more leads, and nurture those leads and continue to help them be a better brand in their community and their industry. So we'll be expanding into those spaces just because it's just something that we have a niche in, and just helping folks expand and be better at their online presence and lead generation. Part of the learning curve for us was, now it's obviously it's much more purposeful. I know how we got to where we did last year, right? I mean, there's a formula to it, right? How we did it. And we know it's scalable. So that's why, we kind of make that goal being to 4x that. But we have to continue to get better, strive to get better. But it's also about expanding our footprint so that we're in front of more customers and more potential people that we can help. So that's where, again, creating strategic partnerships and, working to be sponsors of great podcasts like yours, and continuing to build strategic partnerships and strategic opportunities to let people know that there are options, because that's the biggest thing. You don't know what you don't know, right? So if you don't know, if there's nobody in the forest to hear the tree fall, does the tree make a sound? Well, if you never see a smart tarp, you don't know it exists. So, our reach now is just to continue to expand that reach. Our expectation is to continue to grow and get to, that multiple 12 figures, and continue to scale it. We didn't expect to get to, in 2 years to go from nothing to a multi-million-dollar company was not on the horizon. Right. And that happened in 18 months. I mean, which is just stupid. Right. But we're going to do even bigger and better. Yeah. And continue to do that and bring value, because that's the most important thing to us. I mean, I think part of what we've established is that when we step into the space, you can count on, we're going to bring value, we're going to bring service, and we're going to get you a return on your investment because we guarantee it. If within 4 or 5 jobs, if a smart tarps haven't gotten a return on investment, call me, I'll buy them back. I mean, it's that simple. I mean, they will work. We know they work. And you can't prove to me otherwise.
Yeah, I think you've already proven that it works, and there's no question about that. So that's pretty awesome. And I love what you talk about with partnering up with different channels to help promote the products. Have you given any thought to getting into distribution, ABC Supply, SRS, any of the big dogs like that? I know you did have a conversation recently with my partner, Jason Shumway, over at Bradford Roofing Supply in Columbus.
Yep.
And that was one of my key questions was, what are your plans as far as getting into the ability to sell to one that sells to many, the people that, have thousands and thousands of clients that do millions of dollars of business weekly? What are your potential plans for that moving forward? And then we'll talk a little bit about the podcast strategy as well.
Yeah, for sure. So I talked to your buddy Jason and your partner, great guy, and we're putting together, working on a deal so that Shumway will have a distribution point on their online presence. And we are, it is on our radar and is on our to-do list to put together, a program with companies like SRS and Beacon and, all of these guys. But as you can imagine, those people don't know who the hell I am yet. And so it takes time, especially, a lot of these guys are getting bought up and, with bigger companies. And so it's not like in a lot of cases, it's not like I can just make a phone call like I can to you or to Jason and get a decision maker on the phone that goes, oh yeah, shit, absolutely. It's a process, right? And but I predict before excuse me, before June, my expectation would be that we'll have distribution with if not all, but the ones that look at it and go, wow, this is something that we can help bring value again to their customers. I not only do I think that it's on the horizon and will be done, I know it will.
Yep, no doubt in my mind. As you continue to grow, people are going to take notice, and that's all it takes is a little bit of recognition from enough people to say, hey, this is a pretty cool thing. You get on that radar, and all of a sudden your 4X goal seems small because you're going to get into such a large market. Now, let's talk a little bit about the podcasting and some of the other ways that you've been promoting. Super honored that I was the first podcast that you ever appeared on for this product. That is huge to me. And I thank you for taking the time a year ago to do that. Since we've done that episode, I've seen you on a lot of different podcasts. I've seen you in a lot of different opportunities to get your name out there and your product. Tell me a little bit about how these podcasts have helped you, about some of the appearances, some of the ways that you've been able to utilize these to promote the brand and continue to grow through that channel as well. For podcasts obviously are a totally different game changer than any of us would have thought they would have been, before COVID. Right. And especially in the roofing industry, it's very specific, right? There's guys like you, there's guys like Dimitri, there's guys like, Ty Backer. I mean, there's these people that have a huge audience, and, we can certainly find a way to success by just focusing on selling individual, roofing companies and roofing contractors. But what I'm doing podcasts with you and with Marquise and Dimitri, and we've got another one that I did at SRC that'll be out, in a couple of weeks. With Thunder Media, which was in Roofer's Helper, which was, again, a hell of a lot of fun. It gives us the opportunity to educate, right? And to just let people know who we are and what we do. And the influence and the communication level that, I don't want to call it a freaking influencer, but people who have, an audience that they're already bringing value to, right? It helps us with people who, maybe saw what we, saw a fraction of what we were doing 2 years ago, who then see me on your podcast or see me on Dimitri's. And I've said this before, just the hilarious thought process of when last year, when I drove up to Minneapolis to work out with Dimitri and do his podcast, which I will tell you, warm up before you go. If you're going to work out with Dimitri, don't let that be the first workout that you've done, which wasn't for me. But
the you know, the reality of the impact that has. But the funny part is with Dimitri's was when that podcast started to come out, on comments in different places where it was out, people made comment. They were like, I saw you, spamming forums when you first started 2.5 years ago, which is unfortunately what I did do. And he says, I thought you were a scam. So, and it's like, they're like, glad to know that you're not. And, that same guy orders tarps now. Right. So it's a means of communication, and it's, from our perspective, guys like you and others, you bring value. So we want to try to bring value, to your podcast, and we'll continue to do that. And, and try to, again, we just want to bring value. That's it. We just want to bring value to the space and value to the people that we interact with and the people that we try to do business with.
That's it. And I think it's cool that we've got these opportunities now. Like you said, COVID kind of changed the way that things were done. This podcast is going on 4 years of existence now. This is episode 208, 209, somewhere in that ballpark. Crazy. And it comes out every week. And it's crazy to me. We had IRE recently here in San Antonio.
Yep.
And I don't ever think about this because I just do it for fun. I get to chat with people and have a good time and meet all kinds of people from all over the world. It's been not just roofing people, but I've had NASCAR drivers, professional wrestlers, bare knuckle fighters, magicians, hot sauce chefs, morticians, 22 different best-selling authors, you name it. Yeah. I've had these different guests, and you don't really realize the amount of people that do pay attention, because it's not something I really ever thought of. I just did it for my own benefit. I think it's cool. And I use the clips sometimes to sell roofs to homeowners here in San Antonio. But
for sure,
it's been an amazing transformation over the last couple of years as we've gotten more into this medium. And I had people coming up to me at dinner that I'd never met before in my entire life. I had no idea. Hey man, I like your podcast. I see your podcast all the time. It's awesome. I love the episode you did with Tim Brown at 3:00 in the morning on his rooftop. And you start to realize it really does reach a lot of people. And you
never know who's listening. You never know who's listening and watching.
Yeah, that's right. Each set of eyes is a potential client, even if it's not someone that's in the roofing business. Maybe it's someone who knows somebody who is and says, hey, you know what? I was watching my Aunt Gertrude talk about her book that she wrote on Chuck's podcast, and I think you should check this out because I saw this other episode, and Smart Tarp is a cool thing that he was talking about.
Yeah.
So I think that that's an awesome way to go about developing a business. It's a new modern thing. Like you said, we've evolved over the course of time. The yellow pages, I don't even think the yellow pages exist anymore. Maybe they do. I don't know. I haven't seen one in 20 years, but
I don't think I've seen one in a while either. But just tells you how old I am when I'm referencing yellow pages. So,
well, dude, I used to love them. And when I was a kid, we used them as wrestling weapons. You could hit people with the yellow pages and they wouldn't do any damage, but that's neither here nor there. But as we've evolved, being able to take advantage of these and kind of be on the forefront and say, hey, look, this is a whole new way to brand my company. It's a whole new way to build a business from scratch. I love the fact that you were spamming everybody and, just doing whatever you could to get your name out there. Because at the end of the day, people saw it and people came back to you later and said, Dean, man, I thought you were some pain in the ass guy that was just, kidding me about this. And this was not a real thing. But now you've got credibility as you continue to grow and develop. And to me, that's what this is all about. If I can help sell a Smart Tarp because of our conversation, why not? Right. That's why we're doing it. It's Sunday morning. I'm having fun and talking to a good guy who's built something that he didn't expect to grow to the size that's grown now, but now realizes we're just getting started. So this is pretty awesome. And I thank you again.
And that's thanks to you too, Chuck. So that's, we wouldn't be where we are without the help and graciousness of guys like you and many, many others.
Yep. And we're going to continue to do it because as long as you put something good out and you're a good person and you keep your word, why not? Right.
Absolutely.
And there are a lot of people in this industry that come and go, that fade away, and they, flash in the pan type situation where they do one good thing and then they kind of screw a bunch of people or they just kind of fizzle out. I don't see that happening with Smart Tarp. So I'm very much looking forward to continuing to watch you grow. Maybe a year from now, we have another conversation and say, well, you were trying to 4X, you ended up 16X in 2025. And that would be pretty awesome in my book. So let's talk about this. We've got contractors galore that watch the show from all over the country.
Yep.
Most of them probably don't have smart tarps in their arsenal at the moment.
Correct.
I'm going to tell people first and foremost, click the link in the bio, because that's my link for my affiliate program with Dean and Smart Tarp with Keepin It Rio Podcast. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to, promote your brand and to, make a little something on the side for doing that. I appreciate that.
My pleasure.
And if anybody is still wanting a little bit more information, they want to understand exactly what you have to offer, what are the best channels that contractors can go to figure out if Smart Tarp is something that would, benefit their company, which 100% it is. I guarantee you that. But if you're on the fence, where do they need to go to get some more info?
Look, you can go to brandalltarps.com. You can go to tarpsmarter.com, and you'll find all of our channels, whether it's YouTube, Twitter, we're everywhere. And you can also call us directly at 816-327-2921. You will initially talk to our beautiful AI receptionist. Her name is Jennifer. And she will direct you to me, or she'll direct you to Kelly or one of our other team members. But, look, get on our websites, get on our Facebook pages, follow us. And we'll live chat with you. If you have questions, you can text us, you can call us. As we say, just brand better and tarp smarter. That's all we ask.
That's it, folks. That's all you have to do. And your life will be so much better. You'll see exponential growth in your business. Your lead generation will be taken to a completely different level, and your crews are going to be happy to be out there representing your company. It's going to give them a sense of pride as well. It's just going to look a lot cooler than having a bunch of blue tarps on the ground. Everybody wins. Your homeowners are going to love you for it. They're going to tell their friends and family. They'll probably take pictures and share them on their Facebook pages. So I can see a ton of different ways that getting Smart Tarp into your business can benefit you as a roofer. Let me ask this before we sort of close it down a little. You've got this tarp situation under control now. Any other products that you guys may be considering down the line as far as protection for other aspects of the property? I know my guys, when they do swimming pools, we will put a blue tarp over a swimming pool or a nice thing of Visqueen. Yeah. I know swimming pools aren't the most visible thing, but I think there's a market for something like that as well. Anything else that you guys have coming up, or anything that you've already put into play that can also help brand a company in a unique way?
Yeah, we do. We actually began making them available last summer, and then we took them out unavailable during the winter. We just brought them back out again, and it's what we call smart pool protection. And so you literally can have a 24 by 48 foot pool cover with graphics that are literally can be scanned and viewed from more than 250 feet away. And look, if you want the coolest drone shot you're ever going to have for your company, buy a pool cover, have smart tarp protection on a pool, and that drone shot will generate you more revenue than you would ever expect in markets that pools are very, very, very prominent. And you can see actually see one of the great promo videos that one of our customers did for the pool covers that we did for them with that drone shot on our website. It's really, really, really cool. So, and look, when we find something that's great and find something that our customers say, man, it would be fantastic if we had this. And if it's something that we think we can do it better and do it with more panache and with bringing more value, then we're going to be all in. But if we can't be the best at it, we'll refer you to somebody else. But be rest assured, if you're looking at something that we are manufacturing here in the United States, as every single thing that we do is, it's because we believe in that we are the best place to get it from.
There you go. That speaks for itself, ladies and gentlemen. Dean, I can't thank you enough for taking the time on a Sunday morning to chat with me about Smart Tarp. Seeing your growth from the last time we talked a year ago to today is absolutely amazing. And I'm so, so happy for you, for everybody in your organization, because this is just the tip of the iceberg for you. And I have a feeling that you're going to continue to grow for many, many years to come. thousands and thousands of satisfied contractors are going to be singing your praises, and I'm going to be there for the duration, hopefully, if the good Lord lets me. And like I say, this week, we're going to start putting some smart tarps up on my jobs. I'm going to illustrate myself, the value to my people, show them exactly what we're getting directly from you. So it's not just a, hey, Dean says his product's cool, so I'm gonna chirp that back. I'm going to put it into practice this coming week, and I'm going to let you guys know my full experience with Smart Tarp. I cannot wait until we get to talk again about this. And like I said, ladies and gentlemen, click the link in the bio if you're interested in getting smart tarps on your job site. I think it's going to be one of the best investments you could possibly make. It's going to separate you in your marketplace, and it's going to make everybody take notice of you. So continued success to you, my friend.
And you as well.
Before we bid adieu, I thank you for your sponsorship opportunity. And I also want to give thanks to my sponsors at Roofer. As you can see, I'm decked out today in my Roofer attire. These guys have been amazing to me for the last several years as well. And I love everybody at Roofer. When I was at IRE this week, I know I signed up at least 2 or 3 people just from conversations I had throughout the event, walking through and just talking about Roofer. So thank you to those guys. We're going to play the Roofer ad as we bid each other adieu. But until next time, ladies and gentlemen, like I always love to end the Keepin It Rio podcast, the most corny, cheesy tagline in the history of the world: keep on keeping it Rio. And we will see you guys next Thursday. Thank you for watching. And again, Dean, thank you for being here, my friend. I appreciate you.
My pleasure, buddy.
All right. We'll talk to you guys next week.
We're Roofer. We know that managing a roofing business can be chaotic, so we created a single platform with all the tools you need to easily run your roofing business. Stop switching between multiple different softwares and experience streamlined operations from lead to payment in hours instead of days. Visit roofr.com to get started for free today.